It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
Well. Look what the cat drug is. You, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Sean Widmer Podcast. We are midweek on recording this early in the year. I got to give myself some volume in my headphones. I need more snare. I need more snare for my headphones. All right, so today on the podcast, I am going to touch on some date night happenings that maybe could motivate you. The wildest combination from a restaurant I have ever heard of in my life. Was it good? Did it work? We'll find out. A shout out to something that I never thought I would be doing in a million years that I did today. And we're going to talk some parenting navigation, and I'm holding on for dear life to something. We will get to that. Thank you, though, first and foremost, to the Patreon members of the podcast. Because of you, this podcast is possible. This podcast is brought to you by the Patreon members over at patreon.com/Sean Widmer Podcast, where you can get Trivia 21, 3 rounds this week. What was it? Colors, animals, and TV geography. TV geography, a category I love so very much. You can go check that out over at the Patreon and get your trivia on weekly on Tuesdays. Hopefully an extended interview coming up this week. Thank you to the people who had some feedback about Friday with Brandon. A lot of people liked the Brandon episode. A lot of people liked the hour-long episode. I'm willing to bring some of those back. That was very fun to record. I think it was kind of interesting. I liked it. I love talking to Brandon. It's great to hear from him. I'm glad he was well. I'm glad he is doing well. Okay, we kicked the podcast off with 5-star reviews. There are none. We're about to put that whole thing to bed. It's been like 2 months since we've got a message on a 5-star review, so this becomes worthless, but it does let me give a shout-out today. And the shout-out is going to go to something I never thought I would ever do. If you had told me 5, 10, 15 years ago that what I did today was something that was going to be in my repertoire at some point, I would have laughed at you, or I probably would have thought, okay, I lost a bet on the radio show, and I have to spend a day learning how to do this, and that's all it's for, because today I got certified to run a forklift. What? Yeah, I did, and it was a wild moment thinking about that today, that when I went to work, we got a lot of guys who work in our warehouse who are amazing with the forklift. We have things in our warehouse that need to be moved around a lot, and the guys aren't always there. And we've realized over the past couple months, when it gets really busy, there are situations where all of our able-bodied studs are gone, and they need to go to the very bottom of the barrel sometimes to get something done. And so they scraped it, and they found me there, and they said, hey, it's time for you to learn how to use this forklift in case every single other person in the company is busy. And so today I had a guy come from the training and safety department from our company and run me through. There was a handful of us, ran through a video, ran through a lot of rules and regulations with how to run one of these things, and then we went to the warehouse and ran the forklift through sort of an obstacle course. And I'm going to tell you, that was one of the more stressful things in my life. I have been in a lot of situations that were either high degree of difficulty, a little bit stressful to maneuver, and today's was crazy. So it seems so dumb because there's plenty of people who just are probably thinking, yeah, you just drive it over, raise the forklift, pick up the pallet, bring it down, and Bob's your uncle. Boy, I wish that was how my brain worked. This is how it went for me. First of all, the guy who was in training, I think he sniffed me out immediately, because the other people who were training, they would go through the obstacle course, and my guy is talking to other people, and he knows, Nathan's going to crush it. He knows Sam's going to do just fine. He knows Paul pretty much is one with the forklift. And so he's like, yeah, these guys know what they're doing. The second I got on the forklift, this guy stopped talking to people. He stopped being fun with, the other employees, and he was like, I am focusing so much on you. I'm not going to say a word. I'm just going to stare daggers through you because you, my friend, are the one who's not going to be able to do this. Now, spoiler, I actually did okay. But feeling the stare from this guy in a world that I'm uncomfortable in was was, a lot to stomach. And this is the part of the story I'll share with you. On our forklift at our building, it's a standing forklift, so you stand in it, and you turn the key, and then to activate it, there is a pedal that's just like a basic old pedal you stand on the ground, and that kind of activates the whole device. And if you, in case of emergency, need to stop, you could rip your foot off the pedal and it would stop instantly in case of emergency. But it's not like this thing is hard to push down. It's not like a clutch in a car. You truly stand on it and you don't even notice it. I was so tense, and I didn't realize this while I was running the forklift through the course. I must have been pushing down on that thing for dear life. I would love to go back and see what it looked like, because for the next 30 minutes to an hour after I was done with this 5-minute obstacle course, my calf was cramping. This is not even something I'm just standing, but I was so in it and pushing down so hard. My leg was cramping for about an hour afterwards from the amount of tension I had put in there. And it was one of those things too, where I didn't even realize how nervous I was to get this done in front of this guy who, making sure we can operate this. When I got done and I got sort of the adrenaline out of my system, I was exhausted at work. I was a walking zombie the rest of the day. But shout out to the forklift guys today who got the approval and got me through these trying times for, a guy who can hardly use a screwdriver. And now I can use a forklift. So there's that. Kind of weird. Loved it though. Okay, I wanted to recap something. On Friday night was a fun night. My wife and I got to go on a date night. Much needed. Very fun. Always great just to go out with just her. And, I love going on dates. I love going on dates with her and other people. I love getting together with family and friends and doing stuff. It's very fun. But sometimes it's just great to go just the two of us. And so we went out and we were like, what do we want to do? Well, we want to go get dinner, and then let's do something afterwards. Honestly, we didn't really care what we were going to do after the date because it's just been forever. We just wanted to hang out. So let's start with dinner, because it was a lot of different places we have not tried here in Lexington, right? We do not go on as many dates as once upon a time. Pre-kids, we're going out to dinner all the time on weekends. We can go on date nights as much as we want. Now, you got to get the babysitter, it's all this stuff. It's more of a process. So we were asking around for places to go eat because you want to make it count. And a guy that I work with, Landers, he's kind of a hipster. He's got those boots that look like Charles Dickens time boots, but they're really cool. I don't know a better way to describe that. Like maybe could have found the boots on the set of a Mumford & Sons music video. And so I just trust those people immediately to have cool opinions on things like restaurants. And that's what he had. So he had a couple of them laid out for us. I ran them by Anna, and the one we chose was called Pearls. It still is called Pearls. We didn't go there and immediately it closed. It's called Pearls here in Lexington. And the combo for what this restaurant is insane, because you got to remember, we are in Kentucky, surrounded by other states, which are surrounded by other states, which eventually, if you head east, are surrounded by states that touch the ocean. But it's a ways away. And so when you choose a place that is pizza and seafood, it kind of makes me scratch my head and think about it for a second. Now, I love pizza. And honestly, I love seafood. But a restaurant that specializes in those two things I had never heard of. I've heard of a lot of different restaurants, right? And I've heard of pizza places and I've heard of seafood places. And then I've heard of buffets that have seafood, that have pizza, and have everything. Thanksgiving dinner, all of it. But a place that has its menu, half of it's pizza, half of it's seafood, was a first for me. And so we kind of went in excited, a little skeptical, but we knew Landers wasn't going to lead us wrong. And so we head in. Now, I was a little nervous, because I'm a baby and I'm a child. And when it comes to pizza, I'm kind of particular. And I hate to admit it, and I hate to be this way, because I want to be, I'm cool with anything, and I'm fine with whatever, and I'm just happy to be going out to a restaurant, and I love pizza. But with my pizza, I do not like a fancy pizza. I don't like people trying to get too clever with their pizza. I'm a Domino's. I'm a Papa John's. That's my kind of pizza. All right, and I know that's not for everyone. So going into this place, I knew it was a little fancier. Like I knew they would have pizzas with greenery on the top, which is not my cup of tea. I don't need any arugula or basil or any of that. I want cheese. I want pepperoni. Maybe I want a Hawaiian. I want grease everywhere. So I went and looked at the menu, and it's got a lot. In fact, I need to bring up the menu because you start to look at the names of the pizza, and you're like, oh boy. Let me see here. Let me read some of them off the Pearls website. When I go to the menu, the pizza menu, they also have bagels, seafood, and pizza. All right, so like the big white cloud. This sounds terrible to me. Garlic cream rapini. I'm also somebody who I don't want to not know a pizza condiment. If it's going on top of a pizza, I'm 43 years old. I should know everything that goes onto pizzas. So something like rapini, Mountain House mushroom, ricotta, fresh mozzarella, Parmesan, and then Everett Gardens microgreens. That pizza to me sounds like a disgrace to pizza. So I saw that pizza first when we got there, and I thought, we have made a terrible mistake. They also had the marinara, no cheese, tomato sauce, capers, olives, garlic, fermented serrano peppers, a word I don't know, CAOO, cau, herbs, add, boquerone, I don't even know. I got worried. They had me back with this one, the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, you name a pizza after somebody, and especially one of my favorite NBA players, I'm back in. The Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has Calabrini chili tomato sauce, copa, basil, sun-dried tomatoes, house cheese blend. So I thought that was probably the path I'd go because I love Shea. But I had been told by Landers, the Hell Babe is going to be my pizza. And it was. Tomato sauce, low mozzarella, fresh mozzarella, pepperoni, there you go, red onion, peppercini, Parmesan, and hot honey. It was so good. Okay, it was so good. My wife got something from the other side of the menu, the side that says seafood, and she got the Fish Wife tuna toast, which sounded awful to me as an order, but she loved it. Now, this isn't why I want to focus on this place. I want to focus on something we did outside of that. My wife and I both love an appetizer. So if you can find us an appetizer to share that we both dig, this is a good start for us. And they had some good options. We saw on their menu some oysters. We do like the oysters. Some breadsticks. The breadsticks sounded good. The wood-fired sweeties, they're sweet potatoes. That sounded kind of good. But we both saw the same thing and we're like, let's try them. And when we said it, our waitress was like, yeah, period. That's the one. And then she said a weird sentence. She goes, it comes with great broth. And I was like, well, I don't know that's what we were looking for. But we ordered mussels. Okay, we ordered the mussels. And I don't know what this means. PEI mussels, I don't know what that is. But this was the part. With coconut, lemongrass, broth, and charred sourdough. The charred sourdough was fine. The mussels were fine. I don't know the last time I have had something at a restaurant that rocked my world in such a positive way as this coconut lemongrass broth. Why it was there, I don't know. Maybe they soaked the mussels in it for a second, but all I know is that in a skillet, you had a mountain full of mussels and then this broth at the bottom, coconut lemongrass broth. And this broth was so good that we were trying to get it on our forks and get a broth, which you can understand how tough that is on a fork. We're trying to get it on our forks and just eat it out of the skillet. And it was so good. We didn't want to waste it. So we ate the mussels and now we're just looking at this skillet of broth going, what do we do? Are we allowed to scoop it up and drink it? That's really, both of us are thinking this. My wife and I are both thinking this. And so the server comes over and she's like, do you want me to take this stuff? And we both, just for a second, we hit her with that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander hezzy. And in that moment, it was great because we are not alone in loving this broth. We are not the first. We will not be the last. Without skipping a beat, she goes, I'm going to leave that there. That broth is spectacular. You're going to want to dip your pizza in it. Your pizza crust in that broth is going to change your life. She was right. So I just wanted to give a shout out to this place, Pearls. I don't know. I still don't know what I think about a pizza seafood combo for a restaurant, but their pizza was amazing. And this broth was one of the greatest menu items I've had in a very long time. And I would recommend anyone in Lexington go there and just see if you can just order the broth and a pizza and just eat that pizza. Screw it. For the first time ever, Rip the crust off the entire pizza if you don't want to even eat the insides, and just dip the pizza crust into the broth. And you can thank Landers and you can thank me later. It was great. It was a great night, great dinner. So shout out to Pearls. Yeah, it was good times. Pizza and seafood. Wild. And then after that, we did something that I still think it's very fun. And I know a lot of bars try to do this, and I just don't ever feel like it takes off. And you'll go to a bar. I remember going to like Iron Goat in Spokane. We'd go to Whistle Punk, the best brewery in Spokane. And we'd go to these places, and you'd see the corner of the bar that would have a couple games, a couple table games. But they start out when the places open up pristine, and they've got this good collection of games. And then you go back 6 months later, and half the games are gone. A fourth of the ones that are left over are destroyed. And then the ones that are left, there's like pieces missing, or they're just the worst games because all the good ones have been taken or ruined. And so then no one touches the games, and the idea of having games at your bar just disappears, and they're just kind of they just kind of collect dust in a corner. And that's how I feel like it is with a lot of the bars that I've been to over the course of my life. Well, the bar we went to after dinner, we knew what it was. I'd been there before. It's called Villainous here in Lexington, and it is a game, like a board game bar. Okay, now it's kind of made for like really nerdy games like the ones I like. Big old tables that you could set up on. If my guy Jeremy was here, he and I could go down to Villainous and run a game of BattleTech very easily on these huge tables and just have a big old time, get some good drinks. They've got some good bar food eats, and that's what it's for. But they also have a huge collection of board games, monster collection of board games from, like I said, the super advanced ones that my world I live in, down to just a good old-fashioned game. And Ann and I went there. We got some drinks, and again, that idea for me just came back to life. Like I said, I've always wanted it to work, where you just have games at a bar, because I think they're great. And we rocked some Yahtzee, which is a top-level game for two. If you've never played the game Pass the Pigs, they had Pass the Pigs. I had not played this since probably high school and earlier. I remember it was a game that was popular for a minute in Venezuela. And we played Pass the Pigs. It was so fun. So fun. We played it forever. Played some Pass the Pig. We played also the game Mastermind, which reminded me of my Gramps Woody. Mastermind, very fun game. Thought Anna was going to hate it. A mind game late at night after some drinks and some eats. I didn't think it was going to work. She was totally addicted. She'd never played it before. We played some Mastermind. And then we finished the night off with just an all-time classic game. A game that never gets old. A game that I don't know who made it, but whoever came up with Battleship, that family, I hope no one in that family line ever has to work again. The guy who created Battleship, his family should be taken care of for the rest of eternity, because he provided the world with something so extremely special and so wonderful that we should reward him. We should reward his family line, because that game was fun in the 80s when I was a tiny child. That game was fun in the 90s when I was, going through my schooling. That game was fun in the 2000s when I'm out of college and, maybe have some girlfriends who like playing games. That game is fun still in the 2020s with my wife. Battleship kills. And it's going to be fun with my kids when they figure out how to play Battleship. It's a great game. So if you're a bar out there, I know there's got to be frustrations with keeping the games in good supply and keeping the games in order and not ripped through and everything. But if you take that one little extra second to try to keep your games in good shape, boy, oh boy, we had a great time playing games, having some drinks, and just a fun date night with my wife. All right, so there's a podcast for you. We're going to get to Kelly's What Are You Into in a second, but I did want to say it was nice reconnecting with my wife outside of this house, because inside of this house right now, man, I'm struggling to find that energy with a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a baby. Our baby is right now our best acting of the kids. The other two, my daughter is, every now she knows how to push my middle son's buttons. She knows how to aggravate him. She knows how to just get him fired up, and that boy is ready to go at any moment. He is ready. He is ready to be getting in trouble or getting angry, and my daughter just knows how to push him to that level. She needs to chill. I don't know if Huck has said any word other than poop or poopy or fart in the last 3 weeks. And besides, no, poopy, fart, and Dr. Poop, Mr. Poop. I think that's all we got. And there's no listening happening. We're in this phase right now. And I'm struggling to channel that thing that my buddies who have older kids and those that have come before who have raised kids, that line they say, which is, it all goes by so fast. You really take these moments in. It goes by so fast. And I'm having that struggle of, well, is that a bad thing? Because right now, I'm pretty dang tired because it's not going by that fast. And I love my kids to death. They are my everything. I go to work. They're all I think about during the day. And then I get home and I'm like, what was I doing? Why was I thinking about this? I was craving this. I was craving this. And I love them. But if you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. They can really get you. So if you have any tips for how to remind a 3-year-old boy that his vocabulary needs to be more than things that come out of your rear end and your, as Huck would say, out of your butt cheeks, I would love to know. Love them to death. But whoo, man.
Kelly's, what are you into?
I'm into holding on for dear life. Holding on for dear life. Diamond hands like it is 2020 and I've got some Dogecoin. Is that 2020 or 2021? Either way. Monday nights are some of my favorite nights. I get to see my best guy, Mike, hang out with him. Get to see my guy, TJ. Get to see my guy, Josh, hoop with Andrew. It's hoops night. Monday night's hoops night with some guys I met here in Lexington who I really like. Great dudes. I will always say this. I actually talked to one of my buddies about it this week. For me, and I think if you are someone who is into sports, as you get older, I think it's really important to stay involved in a thing like basketball because you will make and you will keep friendships. If you're in a spot where maybe, like I moved to Lexington, I had a really good friend group in Washington, really good friend group. A lot of guys I'd met playing sports, and a lot of guys I'd met in my 30s playing sports. So, I had my group of friends from my 20s, Max, Andy, Jeremy, Chris, these like core guys, Ryan, Scott, John, Preston, Reed, these core guys from my 20s. But then when I got in my 30s and I kept playing basketball, and you meet a lot of guys. I meet Marcus, Mike, Darnay, Barrett, Wes, Alex, like all these guys who Matt, all these guys who are my good friends now. I met them in my 30s because of hoops. And so I'm a big proponent of keep playing because you may find a time in life where people move on or you move and you want to have some people to connect with. If you've got a sport like basketball that you've loved, go find a run and you're going to have similarities with these people that are playing it and you're going to make friends. That's the way it is. So in my 40s, I've been able to do that here in Lexington and make some really good friends, some guys that I would love to hang out with. If I didn't have 3 kids, they're guys I would call all the time to hang out with, try to get drinks, try to get together for a game, whatever it might be. And so last night, Monday night, I'm recording this on Tuesday. We had hoops last night. And I'd sat out a week because my back has been bothering me because Mike tried to kill me a few weeks ago in basketball. And I got to say the last maybe 3 games that I've played, and I hate to say it out loud, I'm feeling 43. It's by no means are the basketball days over. By no means. There's still a lot of gas left in the tank. But I can notice it right now. The shots aren't falling the same. Getting to the basket's not happening the same. The turnaround isn't as good as it once was. The defense is even more non-existent. If I'm really not boxing out, I'm not skying for rebounds. I can kind of feel it. So I still love it out there, but I can feel this transition of, oh man, I am now becoming the guy that 10 years ago, I'm in my young 30s playing a ton of basketball. A guy would show up in his 40s, and I'm like, okay, this guy is playing. He's trying his hardest, but like, we got to figure out how to work with this guy on our team to find a win. He's not really a total liability quite yet, but I think he thinks he's still got it in his tank, and it's not quite there. I realize I'm that guy now. It's weird. And so my Kelly's what he into is I'm just hanging on. I'm into hanging on, and I'm going to keep holding strong until I just absolutely cannot grip it anymore. And I'm going to keep going at least once a week to play hoops. And I'm going to hope to meet some more great people over the course of the next many years. And it will be something that I will always preach to my kids and anyone out there who's going through something where they may find themselves in a situation where they want to connect with people. If you love a sport, stick in it. And I don't know how well it works with a lot of them. I think something like football, it's probably going to be hard to find a pickup football game. Baseball, you need a million guys just like football. You need a lot of guys to play a baseball game. Going to be hard to find a pickup game. That's why I think basketball is a perfect sport. That game is created to enjoy at a 5-on-5 level. 10 guys is what you would need, but it can be played 3-on-3. It can be played 2-on-2. It can be played 1-on-1 in an enjoyable fashion. And I think it's a perfect sport. Now, I know pickleball is taking over. I talked about this a few weeks ago with pickleball. I know that's something that's there that you can do. And there's a great opportunity to meet a lot of people there. But yeah, I just love it. Basketball is for me. Okay, thank you for listening today. Thank you for tuning in. I didn't get to comments today. We're going to hold on to them and get to them on Friday. I don't know if there were any of them. I would tell you the comments have been slowing down a little bit. So if you want to comment, we might just move those to Fridays. And that's going to be over at Spotify, over on YouTube, or at shawnslife.com. You can leave your comments, and we'll get to them at the end of the week, I think, is what we're going to start doing moving into this year. So thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for participating. Again, if you want to go try the trivia out, if you want to support this, if this is something you like, and you want it to keep going, and it's something you can throw a couple bucks at over on Patreon, that helps pay for everything that goes into this. It's equipment. It's the monthly fees that I have for running my podcast. Thank you very much for the people who support it and make it possible over at patreon.com/Sean Whitmer Podcast. Have a great whenever you're listening to this.